Hello. I'm looking out into the room and I know some of the people in here. Maybe as a school psychologist at the beginning of my career, I came to your house and I helped you get resources for your child, helped you understand their disability, and I let you know all the supports that are out there for your family. And when I had my daughter, she's 17 now, I remember thinking, there are so many choices for us. There's so many possibilities. I was watching different housing situations open up and families were doing it. And I thought, we have, I had hope. I was upset that she had this rare genetic disorder and that she needed 24-hour care, but I didn't feel the way I feel right now. We're at this moment, we're at a crossroads right now, and it's really a defining moment because the cuts that are proposed attacks our human rights as people. It is really a human rights problem. So I'm standing in front of you not as a sister, daughter, mother, or professional, but I'm a voice, and I'm going to speak even when my voice shakes. Because I know there's a lot of people who are hesitating. They fear retaliation. They don't want to speak up and make things worse. They don't want their kid to lose the only service that they have. Their loved ones need what they already have. But I'm hoping that my advocacy and what's happening in this room ignites a fire in you, because if we don't start talking about what's happening behind our closed doors at our house, no one will know and no one will want to help us. Because we're really standing at the edge of this cliff. We're teetering on this really slippery slope because the mindset behind those cuts is a harmful one, something that we have fought for decades. Once again, it's time to remind our leaders that we, the people, includes us. Removing designated representatives from CDPAP will cut down on who qualifies. And this is like the cruelest deja vu for me. I faced this kind of discrimination years ago when my daughter's school district said she was too disabled to be worthy of accommodation. And it took 8 years in federal court to set a legal precedent for our country. But you guys, that doesn't just apply to my sweet Devin. That's not just a precedent for one person. It's there to guide all of us. If we truly embrace welcoming the huddled masses and valuing diversity and equity, then every individual, regardless of IQ or disabling condition, deserves our consideration and respect. Governor Hochul may not have realized the devastating implications of her proposed cuts when she made them, but by targeting those who need help directing their care, those with designated representatives, she has created widespread panic across the state. Justifying these cuts undermines the spirit of ADA law, the Olmstead Act, both cornerstones of disability rights. It's hard to fathom how New York State, once a leader in this regard, is now proposing to use a person's disability against them. It's illegal to deny CDPAP consumers a free and reasonable accommodation to utilize a program that was created for them. All of our greatest accomplishments in the disability community didn't happen in a boardroom. They started at a dinner table, or meeting up at a coffee shop, or coming to a rally like this, because invested families have the most to lose. We're also the most tired. The pandemic has made our life harder, but if we don't fight for CDPAP, we're losing more than just a program. We're losing this resource, a lifeline, and there are no other viable options to take its place. It helps families function and carry on with dignity when a loved one needs caregiver to support. Having choice over who comes into my home, training them, it's been our saving grace. It doesn't make my life easy. It just makes it less hard. Keeping our dignity intact costs taxpayers less money. My family story is just one example, but CDPAP made all the difference for my father, Dr. Thomas Ash. He was a professor and a school psychologist, and I followed in his footsteps. And he got early onset Parkinson's and dementia. Having caregivers in our home gave my mom some respite. We all did everything we could, but he would not have been able to spend that last chapter of his life in familiar surroundings of people who loved him if it were not for CDPAP. My daughter, Devin, who I mentioned, is 17. She has a really rare genetic condition, that we need to be an arm's length away from her at all times. She could have a medical event that requires medication immediately. If we take away CDPAP, her self-direction staff can't do that. They're not allowed to administer medication. So even though she gets 30 hours, there's 168 hours a week. And those 30 are great, but they wouldn't be able to save her in case of an emergency. I have colleagues that use CDPAP so they can go to work and stay in our workforce. And what about all the caregivers who come to my house so I can go to work and serve the people I serve as a director of advocacy for Autism Month? When I worked for the county in healthcare, I had 500 people on my caseload. But when Devin needed me because I'm her backup, my caseload went from 500 to 1. And I have 4 children, and all of them have varying levels of disability. So this would impact not only my ability to care for them and be a good wife and give back to my community, it also takes away my income. How will I pay the bills? How will I keep a roof over our heads if I am the only one who is mandated to help with Devin? And what kind of life is that for her? To be with tired mom who never sleeps because she has a medical condition. Her CDPAP attendants don't sleep at night. They watch her and make sure she's breathing and that she is okay. Nursing's not feasible, the coverage isn't there, and it costs a whole lot more. So I agree, this is the most cost-effective way to take care of the people who need it most. And this is just my last piece. There are people who are going to get so tired. They're going to say, I can't keep doing this, because how can anyone do this every day for an undefined length of time? I want us all to remember for a moment what the pandemic was like. We didn't know when it was going to end. We didn't know when we'd be back out in the community doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. It was a horrible feeling, and isolation was terrible. Families with people with disabilities are still there, and this would make it so much worse. So we have to stand together. Our voices matter and our actions count. We have to talk to our legislators and appeal to them. I believe they agree with us. I think their one house budgets will show that. But the fact that this is on the table in New York State, we used to be leaders in this area. We need to not cut our integrity trying to balance the budget. And while I sincerely hope that you or a loved one never needs CDPAP, unless we fight right now, it won't be there for you if you do. Thank you.
Heather, thank you very much for sharing.